Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I've been told to clarify this has nothing to do with babies or infants or live creatures at all, but your baby in this instance is actually your hackathons and your student groups. For those of you who haven't met me, my name's Kevin. I'm president of Hacksmiths, the Goldsmiths Tech Society, and I'm lead organizer of Sex Tech Hack there, and I'm also a coach for Major League Hacking in Europe. And through that, I get to go to loads of your awesome events and loads of other events that aren't represented here this weekend. And I've seen a few things that I wanted to share. So the first question I want to ask, or I want you to think about is, what makes you feel part of a team? And there could be 101 things bounding around your head right now. But probably what it stems in is the fact that you feel a sense of ownership over your project. But just like the student body and the fact that you won't be in your universities forever, ownership must move on. And there are three reasons why this is really important. And it comes down to process, people, and productivity. Process in that if it is not followed, people can be slowed down considerably. People and relationships are really important because otherwise you could leave the people who take over after you having to start from scratch when they may not necessarily have to otherwise. And also remember that the people in your group and the people who will take over after you are students too, and this only forms a small part of their entire identity. So you want to make them as productive as possible, which means either they can spend as little time on it to get the same results, or they can spend the same amount of time and get much greater results. Awareness is the first part to finding a solution. So I'm going to share with you 5 things that I've seen that hopefully you will spot happening if they are happening, and use that to nip it in the bud and move towards a more kind of productive time as society and student group leaders. So 5 things. The first thing is mentorship. So at Hacksmiths, just like Abdul and the City Tech Society, we bring on new committee members by the beginning of the spring term. And it's absolutely invaluable because it means that you can mentor a new set of community leaders with all of those soft skills that are really hard to write down and just hand over in a document. One way we also do this is by throwing them in the deep end. Our league event, Anvil Hack, happens in spring. And part of the induction, essentially, is to have these new committee members own that event and fully organize it as lead organizers, supported by the existing committee. So yeah, no light stuff. We throw them straight in with organizing a large student hackathon. My next tip is to give, get, and encourage guidance or feedback. This is super important and something that's come up several times this weekend as well. This isn't only to give guidance to your committee or your team, but also to let them know that you're open to guidance around how you can improve and how you can improve your communication to make sure they get everything they need to take over your group. The second thing is the bus factor. Can I have a quick show of hands? Who knows what the bus factor is? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, and perhaps those who just need a refresher, the bus factor is the number of people who would have to be hit by a bus and killed before your project would no longer work. Essentially, it's an exercise in writing things down, documenting them, so if you need to take a break, other people can pick up after you and your projects don't suffer as a result. And there are 3 things which you should really be recording. The first are finances. It's really good to have a paper trail, including copies of receipts and everything. Not having this can be a detriment when working with university administrations and students' unions. The second are processes. We have some small processes in our society which allow us to be a lot more organized. So at the points where we have to do large auditing, I know it's really boring, but our students' union makes us do it. It is a lot less strenuous at that point. And the final thing is relationships. Write down who you know, write down what you did with them. Let your people who are taking over the group after you know how those relationships have been left so they can pick them up afterwards and be as knowledgeable as possible when they're going out to kind of rekindle those relationships. The third thing is delegate, and this is super important because you need to give people the space to learn. Those of you who have organized a few events or have run your groups for a while probably understand most parts of running a student group. But by not delegating out and trusting people to do their jobs without micromanaging, you're robbing them of the opportunity to learn the same way you did, and that's learning by doing. The fourth thing, and this is something which is really hard, but I've seen work and I've seen not work so much, which is about stepping away. And ideally stepping away before you enter your final year of studies. Because to pretend you're going to have time for your society isn't fair on anyone. It's not fair on yourself, you're going to be stressing yourself out, and it's not fair on your student group saying you'll be able to do things and then really struggling to deliver on those, or prioritizing your groups over your studies. Also, by stepping away, and this is kind of repeating an earlier point, by stepping away it gives others the opportunity to learn the same way you had an opportunity to learn. And it's unfair and, quite frankly, selfish to not let other people do that as well. And I kind of lied when I said there was 5 points, because this fifth thing isn't something I've seen, but it's a message I want to deliver, which is be content. Be content with what you've done, because you've rocked this. You've run great events. You've genuinely impacted people's lives. You've given people that eureka moment where they've realized they're a lot better than they thought they were. And that is absolutely magical. And while once you leave, it may not echo your vision and things may change, you have to let other people own it. Because people come with different viewpoints, different experiences and different aspirations. And you need to let them make the group whatever they want it to be once you're gone. Because you are not your student group. It may form part of your identity, but it is not the entirety of your identity at all, and in time it will fall away. And anything that your group may do that you don't feel is terribly productive after you leave is incredibly unlikely to affect you once you leave your student group. And remember, it's a student group. Even if it all falls to shit, the world's going to keep on turning. No one's going to die as a result of your group not working. And that's super, super important. Don't take it upon yourself that this must succeed at all costs. And like what was mentioned at Joe's talk yesterday, understand that sometimes these things may need to just die. If you're proud of what you achieved when you were running your student group, then you've done everything you can and you should be incredibly proud of yourself. Once you leave, it's not your problem anymore. And that's a really healthy thing to be able to let go and let other people own it. So that's me. Thank you. No babies were harmed, so hey.